So boom. Hello, wonderful people. Thank you for coming to the inner perspective. I should do like a glittery thing here. I'm gonna get the sound effect. It'll be cool, whatever. Anyways, thank you for joining. We miss, I miss having my little discussions. Let me get the rules. Boom. One mic. Let individuals finish their thought. Try to stay on mute if you're not speaking. If you want to comment or speak next, raise your hand. It's a small group, so if you raise your hand like that, I'm bound to see you. Second, respect others' opinions. I know we're all heated people. We're passionate, but respect is a must. I mean, if there's any disrespect, I might most likely kick you out the call. Not gonna lie. Safe space. This is where you share your personal thoughts and experiences. In instances you don't want me to share anything, because disclaimer, this is going online, it's going on YouTube, it's going on my website. Just say safe space and I'll know how to edit that portion out. Last but not least, be present and active. There's no stupid responses, no stupid questions. Bro, we gonna talk, we gonna chat, we gonna vibe, we gonna have a good time. That's just the way it is. Okay. All right. So this week's discussion is titled Mom, Dad, You're Bugging. Because parents be bugging all the time. And so the statement we're going to use to frame the discussion is, our parents can make the best decisions raising us, and we could still suffer because of them. Do you agree or disagree? And state your reason. Oh, Ivanti.
I'm going to say agree, because parents, everybody starts off just like us. We're young. We have our own life experiences. So they're raising us, or they have raised us based off their experiences, what they believe is the best. They also have childhood traumas, things that happen to them, things that they wish didn't happen to them. So they kind of project their childhood trauma, their teenage trauma, their trauma affects us in a way that they thought that they were doing the right thing, but in the end, it could be both be helpful and harmful.
I mean, I pick up what you're putting down. Basically, like, you're saying you do agree, and their reason is that, because they were once us, so it comes from somewhere, and they have their own issues as well. That's why I could pass down. Okay. Anybody else?
Okay, I do agree. Because like the best decisions, they're subjective. Like in a way, like what may be best to them, we may not understand like at the time. And also like our views are different, because also like I seen a post on Twitter. It was talking about like the emotional like raising men to be like more emotional or in tune with their emotions. And someone was saying like, you know, people are raising their sons to be, tough in a world, because tough in this world because of like the situations they have to encounter with racism, prejudice, like police brutality. And I get that. Like to them, it may seem like the best decision to, teach my son to be macho, to be tough, to, always be strong. But it does impact them negatively because they're not in tune with their emotions. So that's the way I see it. Like to them, it could be, this is what can benefit my child in the best way possible. I'm setting him up for the world. It's so great. And to the child, it actually impacts them negatively. So yeah, I agree.
So, do we have any naysayers? Somebody in the middle?
No, I also agree. And to kind of bounce off of what Tashana was saying, often parents, they base how they're going to raise their kids, like Ivanti said as well, off of their own experiences. And because they feel as though the world is so harsh and the conditions are so harsh, they think tough love is a good foundation for a child and bringing them up in the world. But in a lot of cases, that they're lacking in other departments that are fundamental for an adult coming up in the world. So I agree.
I feel.
I was like sometimes I get it. Like I understand, and sometimes I feel like they also don't know better. Like, not saying that I'm making excuses, but I feel like the way my mom treats me, or like the way I grew up, was the way how like she based off of like how she was growing up, and she never wanted to be treated, because like she I don't really think she experienced like the best parenting skills. So it's like she was trying to give me what she thought was like the best, and that's what she knows as the best, which like for me growing up, of course, like it may be different from my perspective what's best for me. So I don't necessarily think it's like purposeful or whatever. I feel like it's just based on, like their personal experiences.
Yeah, no, that was the question. Like, they look, I could even use personal example. Like my parents had to like look, move around a lot. My mom came up to America and I was in Antigua first. And then she moved up for a better life, but I'm not going to say that that didn't impact me in a negative way growing up. Like you could have the best idea. Everyone has the positive, have to get that yawn out. You can have a positive outlook. I'm not saying that they're purposely about to be like, nah, I'm making this decision, whatever. They're making it because they believe, nah, this is the one I want for my child. I want them to have this amazing future, XYZ. But, however, I stole that from our lovely Raquel over here in the corner, right? That doesn't mean, because we're not the same person. We're not the same individual. We don't have the same thoughts, the same experiences, the same life. So yes, it could affect me in a different way. I feel like every living situation, no matter how you raise your kid, there's always going to be that one part that they're lacking in. Not necessarily lacking, but they don't have that experience in because of how you raise them. So honestly, the main reason for that question was, following up on that. How is it you could communicate that with your parent? Because I feel like the problem, I'm going to say problem. I feel like the problem isn't that that they're trying something, because obviously most cases we're not thinking they're doing it in our deficit. Like obviously we think you're doing it because you love us. However, how do we combat that? By explaining to you, like, honestly, ma, like this isn't this is what you did and this is how I felt affected by it. But the conversation never, or 9 times out of 10, it goes, you're ungrateful, you're being selfish. So how do you even start that discussion? Like, it's just, how do you open that communication boundary with them if they're still stuck on I did what was best for you, but what you did was best for me still impacting me in this way. So how do you even open up the channels to have that talk?
Bro, that's a difficult question because I, speaking from my own first-hand experience,
Strong.
Parents are really hard, especially West Indian parents are very hard to reason with. And unless your parent is receptive, the conversation, in my experience, does not tend to hit, for lack of a better word. It doesn't hit. It's not, no, it doesn't necessarily work. But if you are trying to like bridge that gap and communicate with your parent, I feel like it starts also with you just being open to understanding where they came from and their perspective, and being open to hearing like their explanation of it. But I don't know. It would be really, really hard because I know for me with my own mother, and I've tried to have conversations with her about some of the things that I don't necessarily agree with, or even with me like dealing with mental health issues, whether it's like suicidal ideation and depression and everything in between. Asking for what I needed in those times where I was vulnerable, it it's like if you don't have the language to express how you're feeling, it is difficult to ask what you need. And then sometimes it takes a lot of time for you to get the language to effectively communicate that. And then the need it's not always met.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Say piggybacking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Fashion.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it also takes like a lot of patience on both sides, because I know like even from coming from experience, like I know I do get frustrated. Like, like I do try to understand their side, but then it's also frustration because it's like, why aren't y'all listening? So, but I know sometimes I do have to take the step back and be like, okay, like, it's just, where I have to understand where they're coming from a lot too. but it's patience in that, and it's not always easy because there's times I'm like, nah, I can't do this. I'm out of here. Like I'm like, you know what? Let me hold my tongue because I don't want to speak because then even also because then it gets seen as I'm being disrespectful or I'm like being disobedient. So patience and strength is what I say.
Okay, so just piggybacking off of what they both said, having the understanding to know that, like, I think that it's a give and take. Like, we as young adults, or to a lot of us, we're still kids in our parents' eyes, and we still act like kids when it comes to a lot of them, especially in Caribbean households. You're not allowed to grow up as much or as fast as other cultures. But it's also just referring back to me and my personal experience. I also had to remember that my dad is human. Like, not just like my mom passed away, and like I used to get very upset at him, not remembering, like, yeah, I lost a mother, but he lost a wife. So knowing that, like, some things that he did were unconventional, but also remembering that he's grieving. And that happens throughout the entire life of, like, our parents. Like, we think that, like, they are unconventional sometimes, but they're going through something in their mental processes. Everybody's mental processes is different. Everybody works through things differently. So just knowing or taking a step back to be like, okay, this person is my mom, it's my dad, but they're human. What happened to you? What is happening to you? Let's take a step back and let me understand where you're coming from, because us having a shouting match isn't doing anything. So let me take a step back. Let me re-examine everything. Let me talk to you when I start thinking like, oh wow, you're a human too.
You know what I think it is as well? You know how, like, we were in high school and we thought, like, oh my gosh, I'm going through this in high school. The world is ending. It's like the worst problem in the world. And then now when we look back and we see like kids going through these high school dramas, they're like, bro, like in a few years, you're not even gonna remember this people. I feel like that's kind of our parents' mindset on things as well. Like, because you age and then you hear your child talking about like this little breakup, this little boyfriend or something they have and how they stressing over it. Parents be like, bro, you crying now, but in like 2 years or so, you're not gonna remember. And I'm not saying that it's right, but like I even know for myself, like looking back at like even when kids will go through their little issues and stuff, and then I've seen even us say it like, bro, like it's not gonna be that serious, like when you get a little bit older. And I think sometimes that's what it is. Like with aging, we like look at what our kids or like whoever is going through, and then we're like, bro, like it's really not serious. But then it is, because for you in that moment, like it hurts, it's still painful, it's still hurtful, you're going through the motions. So like of course it is serious, but it's like, I think parents are thinking ahead, looking at it from a perspective of where they are in their lives, and then we're looking at it from where we are. So it's just like bridging the gap. It has to be like both people are like open and understanding, like what Raquel was saying, because it's like, yes, I may not be there or I may not be thinking about this in 2-3 years, but I'm feeling it right now. So what are we going to do about it right now?
I mean, just to even go off of what you just said, I feel like it's good to have that, I mean, in a couple years, it's not even going to matter. But that cannot be the only thing you're telling me. That cannot be your only offer of support. Like, that helps in a way, because then I know looking forward, I can get over it. However, right now, my heart to heart, okay? I love that boy with all the little teenage love I had right now. And he broke my heart talking to Jenny in 10th grade, and she wasn't even that cute. Okay, I'm hurt. How you gonna help me out now? Dad, how you gonna assist me? How? So I mean, even like, and I love what Ivanti said, especially too, like, yes, Tashana with the patience, and then yes, Raquel, like, but also, bridging the gap and also like meeting each other halfway, which is Takeshi, which is what Takeshi was saying as well. But Ivanti also remembering, like, they're human. Like, I feel like sometimes, because even I do this too, I wouldn't even like not right now, but definitely as like a kid, remembering that your parents are also human as well. and that, you know, that they have their own feelings. Like, you're not just my mom. Like, I saw this thing about teachers where it's like, teachers have names. You're not just teacher. Like, you're different on the weekend. So, like, remembering outside of that role of being your parent and be the one to guide you, that they're also, you know, their own person, their own people, that they have to like take care of themselves as well, or how else they're going to take care of you. But on the flip side, you also have to take care of me. I didn't birth myself. I didn't birth myself. It's hard. Like, you like, I feel like it's a lot of getting to where your child is at. It's very easy to be like, you know, you're not even gonna understand. In a couple of years, this is gonna be nothing. You're not even stressed. You're not supposed to be thinking about school. Bro, I'm your kid. You're imagine you're my first avenue to come to, and this is the only advice you're giving me. I'm never gonna want to come to you again. Like, you're not giving me enough support. Like, you're not giving me enough of what I think I need, or you're not even meeting me halfway. It's like you're dismissing it. I feel like that's what the issue is. It's not like you're saying, because even just to go off what you said, in a couple years it won't matter. Because I've definitely had some. I'm like, what are you upset about? I said, bro, trust me, in a couple years it's not even gonna matter. You hurt now. I feel you. You know, maybe if you, go listen to this song. This is how it worked for me when I was age. Like, put that playlist on and just cry for a whole day, and then you'll break it through. But for me to just, or instead of just doing that, I'm just like, I don't even know what you're crying for. You're gonna get over it eventually, and then walking away. Like,
and another thing too is I feel like sometimes they think like, oh, just because we're younger, like what we're saying doesn't make sense, or like we don't understand ourselves. And I don't feel like understanding yourself is something that comes with age. Like, just because I'm younger doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And that's like one of the issues that also exists, because I get it, like you learn things when you age, you pick up on more knowledge the older you get, but that doesn't mean that I don't know anything because I'm younger, or like just because I'm 12 and you're 50, 40, 30. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't change my experience. It doesn't mean that what I feel is not right. Like, it doesn't mean that you're allowed to belittle me just because I'm not your age, you know?
most definitely. Trust me, we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna come back to that. I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. All right, Ivanti.
Like, imagine our friends as teachers, and we're just like, they have a life outside of us. And I think that was usually the hardest thing to come to terms with when it comes to a child parent relationship. And it's also in turn with the parent. Parents are the same way. It's hard to come to terms with your child has a life outside of you. You raise this kid from ages 0 to whatever, and they're always dependent on you. And then when it's time for them to like leave the nest, per se, if we're talking in metaphors, it's a big issue. And that's where all the back and forth comes. But
I'm about to write that down too. We gonna come back to that. We gonna come back to that one. My other question, or the point I want to touch on, is seeking guidance and advice from your parents. So using that same example of, like, because I feel like we started to touch on it, how hard it is when you're seeking advice. But I don't want to talk about it just like a little relationship aspect, but like in just like general like life advice. I want to start with, as a teenager, I feel like we're in that young adult phase, so we kind of just moved out of it, and we're not fully like 30s or whatever, but we're in that like middle phase. So as a teenager, how hard was it, or maybe easy in some other people's perspective, was it to seek advice and help from your parents? And on the flip side, how did that affect you seeking your peers for help and in making your decisions?
For me, I feel like it's a little different because I know me, because I was thinking about it a little bit. Like, I think about it sometimes. Like, for me as a person, I'm the way I am. I'm like, I don't. How do I word this? I don't like sharing things. Not that I don't like sharing things. It's just like,
You don't like sharing things, and
yeah. I'm trying to butter it
I'm
up.
gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you out because I know you
No,
personally.
because not that I don't. It's like, not that I don't like. Because sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to share. It's just like I don't find it easy, and it's not necessarily just with like my parents and stuff like that. Because I used to think, oh, like, oh my God, like I used to feel like, like saying I don't say nothing with my parents. But then I realized like I don't do it with my friends in a way too sometimes. So it's just like I feel like for me it was a little different because like yeah, on my parents is on another level because you know like there's still something I'm like ew don't talk to me about that, I don't want to hear it. But I feel like for me it's different because like I feel that way to a certain degree with my friends as
I got you.
well.
I got you. I got you. So come, sir.
Well, y'all know mine came about like a defense mechanism. I needed to defend myself. I needed to defend myself. My mom was the best option. My mama was the best option I had because, oh boy, that's literally how it started. Like being cool with somebody who like basically told their mom everything. And then I like always wanted that relationship with my mother, but I felt like I couldn't necessarily have it. And then a situation just happened where, you know, they like the parents, you know, parents talk to each other or whatever. So the parents were conversing each other with each other. I just feel like I needed to defend myself because boy, after that situation, I started running my mouth to my mama like nobody's business. Cause listen, one thing about parents is you gotta make sure. For me, it became like a I need to let my mom know this and this about me before anybody else goes and says something, and then it gets like twisted in a way where like it's not true. So that's what it ended up being. Like I want you to be able, if someone comes to you and says something about me, you're like, no, not my daughter. Like I know my child. You could tell me things about my child, but this I know is not my daughter. So like I just wanted to make sure that my mom knew like what was going on in my life so that if anyone ever tried me, she would be like, it wasn't my daughter. Like my daughter wouldn't be involved in that. So that's literally how it started. But from there, it just like got better as time went along because then I got more comfortable. Like it started as a defense mechanism, but then like later on I got more comfortable.
Get that. I get that. Raquel, you wanted to speak, correct? I got
Yeah.
you. Mhm.
I had the exact opposite experience where I was trying to wait. I want to see y'all, and Zoom is acting kind of dumb. Come on, move these bars now. Thank you. And two ways. So let's use middle school into beginning of high school. I was trying to bridge that gap because I had the same experience of like seeing other young girls having that kind of relationship with their mom. But with my mother, she's like, she wasn't trying to hear all that. Like, oh, you're doing too much. Stop, stop, stop. I don't want to hear all that. So it then became the thing where I was seeking out advice from either my peers or I was seeking out advice from my older sister, who is kind of like a mom to me in a way because of our age difference. So I would really only go to my mom for advice if like I was blowing up. Like so many small situations would build up and then I'm in the house throwing shit around and cussing because and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I really want to fight. I really want to fight and I can't fight. I'm not gonna fight. We don't do that. That's ghetto. I'm scared. No. So it's just like it would only be in those extreme situations. It could never be like in the middle. This is where it's also the opposite. Because I'm trying to, or I was trying to before, tell my mom like who I am, like who it be, and she wasn't trying to hear it. When it came down to adults then trying me, or just people in general trying me, she was very quick to be like, yeah, that must be something she's doing because someone's gossiping about it. And then if I was to try to reason with her and say different, especially if it came from an adult, it was like, nah, that must be true because they have some sort of authority, so therefore it's right. Even though there's been plenty of times where they've been wrong and they just lying on your good sister's name. I don't know why I'm built like this.
I can't stand you. Sis then pop the hoodie. How you pop the hood? Not a collar, the hood. Anyways, I digress. Ooh. So when it came to seeking help, seeking help from my parents, I don't know. I feel like it's also because well, with my dad, it was kind of different. Cause that man's like my best friend. I always say that like my dad is my first best friend. That's the first person like I grew that connection with. So like it was very easy. I would never forget. Like fake, this is fake cringy. I drew this picture once. I don't even know why I drew this. Please let me know what's going in my head. I drew this like diagram of a vagina, right? And I was like, this is the vagina and the clit. Obviously, I'm like what 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. And I was like, the clit is the penis part. So this is the male part of the vagina. I don't know. And I just like signed it because I was always sending my dad stuff. So I'm showing it to him. And then he sat down. He's like, all right, Amisha. So like he's teaching me like, okay, so there's no male part of the vagina. This does not exist. But I've always had that openness and understanding. I'm like, I don't really mind coming to you to stuff. Like it was very like whatever. I mean, obviously as I grew, I started liking boys and stuff. That was different because I'm too young to be liking boys because I don't know what boys were. Then I moved up here. I was what 15, I would say. And then this is my mom. I haven't known her since I was like 5. So like there's this big age gap. And it was, I didn't really trust her, but I'm like, I don't really know you, woman. Like, I gotta kind of feel you out. I gotta know if you down with the squad. Like, I gotta make sure you cool, you know, like you with the vibe. Gotta make sure you earn the right to parent me. All right. Cause I'm hot shit. Okay. But I was like, yo, my mom is cool. If like honestly speaking, I had no problem speaking to my mother. I would never lie about that. I had no problems talking to her. Don't get me wrong. She's different. She's different. And I recognize it more as an adult. We're gonna get to that portion. But I didn't really have much problem speaking with her because of the type of parent she was. I would say that. I feel like she was a very open and she would listen to what you had to say, which is what I needed because I'm a speak my mind. So if she wasn't like that, I probably would have got kicked out of the house. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like I feel like, especially with an adult, like speaking your mind, even if you do it in a respectful way, can be seen as disrespectful. Because how dare you have thoughts that are not mine as a young child? Come on now. But Ivanti wanted to say something, so I'll let Ivanti speak and then I'll continue with what I was going to say.
Okay, I had to leave the kitchen because it's kind of loud in there. But I would say I have the exact opposite of experiences than all of you. I had the greatest of greatest relationships with my mother, the greatest one, as most of you have witnessed. It was the I love him, but he spawned a Satan sometimes. My father. It was him, and it got to a point where Takeshi understood my father more than me, and it was literally to the point where I had that. Remember before I was talking about understanding that they are human, I had to understand certain things that he do. And I had to understand that it was his culture, it was his upbringing, it was his life, it was the fact that he had trauma that he was dealing with, and he was just taking it out on whoever was closest. So telling him stuff, how about no, that's a far
I'm
left.
trying to remember what Amisha said that had me rolling my eyes like crazy.
The boys, you don't know boys. You're too young to like boys. That's when you're rolling your eyes.
Yeah, that would parents be pissing me off too. Like, I get it. I understand that, like, we're young and like dating and stuff is like something that you shouldn't do because you're so young and your heart can't handle it. But I feel like those teachings, like, I don't like it. And I feel like part of childhood, like part of your childhood is understanding like your brain, your feelings, your body. Like, you say you want me to be a child, but like being a child encompasses like whatever society decides that like being a child encompasses, if you get what I mean. Like, me liking a boy doesn't mean that I'm any less of a child. Like, or me having, because they, what do they say, like when you have sex you automatically are a woman, but I feel like being a woman is like more than having sex. Like, I feel like a lot of these things, like the ways we were raised, like the things that they tell us, I can't like fathom why it really makes a lot of sense. Because if I like a little boy at that age, I'm not interested in like having sex with this boy. Like, that's really not what it is. You like a little boy, it's more like, oh, this little boy is nice to me. Like, this little boy will bring me snacks, he'll hold my hand. Like, that's really what it is. And I just feel like that's something that like people, like parents should explain, that
it's okay to care for someone, because now you start thinking like, then it becomes like a little separation where it's like, oh, I can't hang out with boys because I can't like boys. So now girls have to be with girls and guys have to be with guys, and we can't intermingle because we can't like each other because we're not grown enough to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that stuff.
It's the way you said it, because we're not grown enough to be together. We can't handle it. We can't handle liking.
Because I feel like that's a part of your childhood, like playing freaking, when we watch Disney movies or whatever, it's Cinderella and a prince. You get what I mean? And then you're telling me this is wrong. This is wrong. Like, things should not be like that. So we grow up not understanding like the male species, or even ourselves as like females. Dang, male female is bad. They said it's bad. Don't say male female. The girl boy going into like woman man stage, because like they don't allow you, like society doesn't allow you to, like it's not okay, it's not accepted. And then like even for parents, like it becomes one of those things, like it's not okay and it's not accepted. So I just feel like we grow up not understanding anything about ourselves or the other genders.
I get that, because we're not allowed to intermingle. Or you know what it is too, because I said this before, like when we had the last chat with it was bro, is that a tear? How we, in a way, we be given, how do I want to say this? My thoughts as a child, let's say, because in the sense of a child, could be so, I would never forget. I was in like second grade. I just moved to another school. They love shuffling me around. I swear to God. Moved to another school. This guy was so cute. The funny thing is, I definitely only liked him in second grade because I got a new crush in third grade and I lasted all the way to sixth grade. I'm just saying. So I remember I had this crush on this boy in second grade, and I kind of liked. I was like, oh, he's kind of cool. He's smart. He wears glasses. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. My aunt used to work at the school. She was the PE teacher. So I don't even know how she found out. I think it was my cousin. He was a little snitch because he ended up telling her. That became one of the biggest stuff. Oh, Amisha's here liking boys. You think you're ready for boys and sex? I'm in second grade. I just thought he was kind of cool. I thought he was cool. He's smart. His brain is like amazing. I feel like we push sexuality on children a lot. A lot. Their thoughts would be nowhere near there. They wouldn't even be thinking about kissing somebody. They're just like, I like him. I kind of want to be with him all the time. I don't like him with Jessica. I like him with me. And that's as far. I would never lie, because it was this girl. I'm not going to call her name out. She might watch this in the future. She would try to hang out with him and be like, don't talk to him. That's my friend. Literally, that's as far as my thought process went. My aunt found out, told my other aunt I was living with, it was she liking boys early. She feeling she grown. Bro, I'm in second grade. My thought process isn't that far. So that's just feeding off of what you're saying. Bro, I wasn't even double digits yet. I was not double digits. Bro, and I was the youngest child in my grade, as per usual. So trust and believe. I was not thinking about no P and V penetration. Stop. I feel like they push. They push their fears and like their sexuality onto children. So like,
okay, enunciation. But I know for me, because, and to go back to the original question, my mom's experiences dictated how strict she was with boys. It's like, you don't hug boys because when you hug boys, you're trying to feel your breast. All you do is, I almost cursed by accident, fist bump them because hugging is too sexual. Oh, I don't want you hanging out with boys because all boys want to do is sex. So now I'm an adult and I don't really know how to have guy friends, because all I heard my entire life was, oh, you need to have girlfriends. All guys want to do is sleep with you. And it's crazy because now as an adult, I've only have had one true guy friend, and everyone else, it always became like a sexual thing. So I feel like she put this spell on me where every guy relationship that I was having ended up being something more than, oh, we're just cool, we have similar interests, and that was pretty much it. And definitely I can say, because she pushed the separation, it made me fast. I was fast. I liked boys really, really early. I've always liked boys. And I don't want to say that I was thinking about sex early. Let me do the math. I don't think I was thinking about sex early. I think once I started hormoning, growing, feelings came about. And because there wasn't an open dialogue about these feelings and how natural it is to being a woman slash a person, I sought it out through avenues that I don't want to say is like unsafe, but probably in ways that I didn't need to at the age. Like, I know for me personally, like my cousins and stuff like that, they started watching like porn really young. And it's because no one was giving the sex talk.
And going on like what Raquel said, like how you said like you feel like you only had like one real male like friend, one male, and then everyone else like a male counterpart has been like in a relationship or in a, I don't want to say love, but in a romantic gesture or in a romantic way. That's the best term to use. Yeah, that come from them. And them fault. I'm sorry. Cause I feel like what it is? If you taught me how to interact with them in a way that you don't want to be sexual, like you want to limit it. Let's say you want to not limit the thoughts or how I feel, but want to limit those type of interactions. I feel like if you facilitate a way for me to communicate with them that does not have to do with like lewd gestures and the touching and stuff like that, it would be easier now as I grow older to communicate with them now in the future. And then as we're doing this, like having the discussion about talking, my next thing was arguments and disagreements with our parents. And I did have a specific question on that too. Like, how comfortable are you approaching your parents after making a mistake? Like after you've done something wrong, how comfortable are you going to go to Shauna? Like she just fell off. Her whole mood was like, she's like, I don't even want to think about it. How comfortable are you going to them like, you know what? This is dead what I did. Like I did XYZ. Like, how do I even move forward with that? Or in like the flip sense, like having an agreement or disagreement with them. And let's say we're in teenage stage now, or like 18. We're moving up now. We're moving like that's how I wanted to do it. Moving up in age. Because we're gonna get to our age, but we're not there yet. Okay. Let's say you're 19, 18, 19, 20-ish. Let's do 18 to 20-ish. Okay. 18 to 20-ish, you made a mistake, or your parents gave you this advice, and you didn't go the way they told you to go. You went a different way. How comfortable are you coming back with them and letting them know, what, this is the route I went, kind of messed up, like, and you want to have like an open dialogue about it. How comfortable are you going back to that?
I'm gonna just hop right in. Again, with my mom, it has to be an extreme situation for me to even have the dialogue. And if she did advise me on something, it will be after like something catastrophic happened. And then it's like, all right, I guess I messed up or whatever. Like, okay, I see where I did wrong. But with her, I'm not as open or just like vulnerable with it. But with my father, AKA my bestie, AKA father in crime, I feel like I can be more vulnerable and he will hear me with reason. And when he does not hear me with reason, I'm very quick to check, especially at my big age now, because I feel like a lot of times, like when I was younger, my parents didn't want to have conversations like that. But I'm just at a point where it's like, it's either you're going to listen or you're going to not. So if I said that I did something wrong, especially with my dad, he doesn't preach to me. We just have an open dialogue and then see how we feel and then see how I'm going to move forward from whatever the situation was.
So like on the flip side of that, or continuing with that, having arguments or like having agreements or disagreements, like how you have, I don't know if like, you had this, like, you get to that age when you and your parents discuss stuff because you're now getting to like the adult stage. So now having like discussions and disagreements with that, how do you think like those conversations went? Do you feel like it was a lot of preaching from this royal standpoint because I'm an adult and I know everything? Or was it more of like an open dialogue, finding out from where you were coming from as well?
Again, with my mom, it's typically catastrophic, just to keep it 1,000. When we have disagreements, they're usually like large scale. And because unfortunately, my mom is the kind of person who isn't always receptive and is on the defense. So if we're having a disagreement, it's like she's either not listening or she's fighting me in the midst of me like trying to like not, I guess, yeah, level the playing field. So yes, we might not agree, but bro, can we talk? Like I'm not trying to sway you and convince you to agree with me, but can you at least see and identify where I'm coming from, wherever that place is, and just accept it? Because that is what happened. Unless something else changes for me to sway differently, this is how I feel, and that's what it is. But with my dad, again, it's just more of a conversation. When I've disagreed with my dad, I find that I have to posture up a little bit more, because as much as we can see each other and reason with one another and we think a lot alike, there are still moments because of the age difference. It's just like we're from different worlds, and I'm like, nah, but we can agree to disagree. It's just gonna have to be on that. But I know when there have been a few moments that have been a bit more heated with my dad, because he's older and I see his masculinity coming out, he finds that he wants to control, and I'm like, nah fam, daddy or not, like don't talk to me like that. We're gonna like you're probably gonna be upset, but I'm not. I don't do well with no. I just don't do well with that. No thanks. I'm not feeling it.
The thing is, when you said daddy or not, tell me why I thought ready or not. So ready or not, I'm still gonna come back. I'm still gonna let you know what's up. Yeah. Okay, Tashana, go ahead, girl.
Because we already established that Tashana doesn't like sharing her feelings. Come to my parents. I feel like it's not that it's hard. I know they're very understanding, especially like I put it into perspective. Like if I was to get pregnant, I know like they'll be very understanding. It will help me. Like, bro, I would be like, dang, bro. But I know at the end of the day, yeah, I'm gonna get a speech. Like, is it really my parents if I don't get a speech? Is it really your parents if you don't get a speech? And they're like, come on now. But I know that they'll be like pretty understanding and stuff like that. And they're not gonna like violate and like, kick me to the curb, which I'm thankful for. But just me being me, it's still hard. It's hard.
All right. So then on the other side of the spectrum, or the other side of the question, like agreements and disagreements, like having disagreements with your parents.
I was gonna get to that, of course.
Sorry.
No, so also when I was younger, I just like, even when like they're like, say, you hear something, they say something like, yo, that's outrageous. Like, or not even outrageous. Like, I don't disagree with that. But me, I'll just like, moving about my day. I was like, I'm not even gonna get into it. Like, I just used to keep to myself, which is part of the reason. Just like, yeah, I just didn't like sharing up how I felt, because I felt like if I didn't like getting shut down or spoken over. And I also like, because I had problems with like, feeling like I was too loud and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna share. But now, as like I grew up a little more, I don't know. I feel like now I'm more comfortable. Like, even if I'm still voicing it, even if we don't disagree, but like even then, I still come to embrace the disagreements, even though they irk me. Because like for me, it's like I came such a long way with not voicing it. And it's like even then, I still get my point said, and I still say what I need to say. So even
my mom, now on the other hand, bro, she was scary as a teenager. Cause listen, I would love to tell my mom stuff, and I feel like I did tell my mom a lot of stuff. But when I did something wrong, oh honey, no, because I know the trauma was finna come in. But my mom, she could be like a hurricane when she opened her mouth, bro. She could affect every spine, every bone, every cell in your body. Like her words, they be hitting differently. And I sometimes, my little spirit, my little heart, I cannot take the words. It just be too much for me. It just be a lot. So I feel like with my mom, when I did something wrong, I had to think in my head 30 different times or like practice in the mirror how I was about to say how this thing's gonna come out. Because depending on how I say it, if I even say the word with the wrong tone, things might go left. Okay. So I had to get it together real quick, get my statements together, draw the proof, make my claim.
Not the practicing, not the pre-written essay.
Yes, girl, that's really
everything.
When you dealing with these Virgo moms, you be having to come correct because listen, you don't want to say just one thing that may just turn them off in a little direction and your whole soul be getting turned left.
Go ahead, Iman.
Okay, if we talking about 18, 19, I would say I played a part in my relationship with my dad. Like his mouth, crazy. My mouth, crazier. We didn't mix at all. It was more so, you know, the coming of age when you're 18, you think you that. You think you like, oh, I'm 18. I'm grown now. Who's talking to me? What? And it didn't make it any better that like so many life changes happened at once. 18, 19, mama passes away, grandmother passes away. So now it's really, who are you talking to, man? Sir, it's not giving what you're supposed to give. But I think in doing that, I created a more hostile environment than needed to be. Because I was wondering, I was like, how does Khalil have a good relationship? Not knowing Khalil already had this conversation with him during the, like before, of like, you need to learn how to talk to people. You need to relax. You need to, bring it down 3, 6, 10 notches or whatever.
It had to build. She said it had to grow. It had to grow. Takesha, did see your hand. I'm gonna go first. Definitely. Okay, which part do I want to talk about now? Approaching my parents with a mistake. So let's say teenage me. Teenage me. To be quite honest, I feel like I was in a place. It depends what age I was. I don't really feel like going out of my way to tell anybody about my mistake, because it was just a lot. from a lot of different places, and like the different relationships I had with my parents as well, and the relationships they had with each other, which also affects kids. Let's just put that out there. So I feel like even like, I guess it depends what type of mistake it was before I could approach. Like my mom, I said, but especially when I realized the type of woman she was, I would say it became easier. So definitely, I feel like as I could know when I speak to her, I could definitely like, I just crawl in her room and say, yeah, like, so, ma, I did XYZ. My stepdad, that was never happening. I kid you not. Like, I would never, ever in my thought process even think about, it was never happening. Maybe now, maybe. I got to think about it. It would really depend by mood. Because even like, that was on the parental spectrum where it's like, I know everything. I kid you not. This is how I felt. This is how I still kind of feel. I know everything. There's nothing you could tell me that I don't know. So what you say don't even make sense. So why would I want to come to you with my mistake? For you to tell me, you knew I was going to do that. You should have never did that. And if you ridicule me more, I don't need that. I'm already suffering. It's like when you beat me. It's like when you fall down and they used to beat you on top of you falling down. Like they beat you because you fell down. I'm already crying because I fell. I already suffered. Why?
Trauma.
Anyway, and then I would say, let me see, agreements and disagreements. My mom, even my dad, that had to build as well, because the thing is, he was another one, but he felt like he knew a lot. Like it was hard having discussions with these men, bro. It was hard. It was hard. It was I know what I'm saying, and it was very hard to openly have a dialogue and speak. One thing about me, I'm gonna speak my mind, and then you're discussing with them, because this is like a discussion, like you're having a discussion with them, because you're now at the age where you're like, you're open to discussion. No, that was a trick, bro, because they're preaching to you and not listening to you. So what are we discussing? What are we really discussing? More preaching? More preachment? Godfather is just, it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back to me. It's a lot.
It's not Caribbean people in general. They can fake. They can fake to.
Ha! We deserve all the Oscars, bro. We deserve them.
Accolades.
We deserve.
Golden Globes.
Deserve them.
Yo.
We deserve them. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it you know what's upsetting too? Because this is my same thing with the they can make decisions that hurt us. And then you try to approach them with it. It's like I never did that to you.
The gaslighting.
Bro! Them number one gaslighter. They are the lighter. When they said gaslighting, that's
I never said that.
emotional trauma. Yes.
And I'm gonna say the gaslighting starts from when you're very young. It starts from asking a parent, "Mama, can I go here on Saturday?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, you could definitely go." Saturday comes, "Mama, I'm about to get dressed so I could go where?" Where?
Takeshi.
But you said I did. I no, I did not. Mama, you said you said. I asked you. I asked you, Mama. I asked you. You said that on Saturday, and I told all my friends that I was gonna be over there on Saturday, and all my friends are on their way to go over there. You telling me that you didn't tell me that I can go? I'm sorry. You telling me that you told me that I could not go? Mama, don't lie right now. Mama, say you're playing because this is a lie. Because all my friends, Mama, I said I was gonna go. You can't tell me that I can't go no more. Because Mom, you're gonna embarrass me. They're gonna be there. They're gonna take pictures. They're gonna post it on Facebook and Snapchat. And you telling me that I really can't go? I'm gonna have to video call over Ufu. No, Mama, no. That's really where the gaslighting starts from, bro. And that I don't think anybody has gaslighted me in my life like my parents. Like nobody has gaslighted me the way my parents, because they really make you wonder, like, no, did she really say yes? Like, did it happen? Did she say this? Or am I bugging? Like, you really be questioning yourself if you're losing your brain cells.
What I was gonna say was also on who was saying it. Oh dang it, Jesus. Just on the topic of because like distancing yourself from like like oh like I see why you're like this, but I'm just gonna distance myself because I remember some guy on Twitter, he said something, I was like, wow, that hurts, but wow. And he was like, oh, like he had to learn how to forgive his father for not loving him the way he needed him to. Like he just had to, like, even if he never got like an apology, like sorry, nothing, like he just had to learn how to for his own sake and keep it pushing. I was like, yeah, that hurts. But it's like what was needed for him, because it's just like he was in a position where he just was constantly seeking it out, and it wasn't coming. So he just had to learn, you know what? Like I get why, like not I well, I see why where he's coming from with his own trauma and his own issues. So for in order for me to heal, I just have to forgive him for that, not forget it, not condone it because I was hurt in the same process. But I just have to do that and distance myself. So that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yeah, talking real calm right now. Um, the gaslighting. I feel like the gaslighting from parents hit differently. Cause like those are that's your first interaction. Your parents. Those are the first people you interact with. To be very honest with, first people you speak to, especially if like you don't have any, like you don't have any siblings to begin with at a certain age, especially if you're the older sibling or whatever. Those are your first, and then like speaking from personal experience, because even to this day, I feel like what? Okay, so it happened. So my younger brother from my stepmom and my dad, right? My younger brother, I would never forget. No funny, that child used to dead beat me up. I kid you not. Not like beat me up. I feel like there's 3 instances. But nah, he dead. He dead. He hit me like it was a hammer. He didn't like hit me in it, like it just fell on my head. It like took like twice. I remember that. And I felt like it was brushed over. I really felt like it was brushed over. So we had this Elmo. I'm gonna speak this Elmo story. This was the one. This Elmo. And this Elmo had, I'm gonna use my little Christmas teddy bear that I got like what, for 4 years now? So do you see the material of this? You feel that? You hearing that? So imagine this. This is the Elmo's eyes. And you know Elmo eye on top of here. He swung the Elmo and hit me in my nose, bro. And when I tell you that thing hurt, it hurt. I was crying, whatever. And mind you, we were kids, of course, you know, he was younger. But the reaction my parents had, this was my stepmom and my dad, the reaction they had, I would never lie and say it did not affect me for a very long time. Because it was a very, oh, you know, he's a child. He didn't mean to do that. And I'm over here crying about it. Oh, Amisha's very soft. He hit me with the hard Elmo in my nostril. I'm crying, bro. Yes. And I like, this is what I'm saying. Your gaslighting comes from your parents, and then it trickled down to my siblings. Because I was gaslighted for my emotions a lot. Like, yes, I'm going to cry. That hurt. It hurt. And it was very brushed over, hugging him. And he hit me. How are you babying him? Yes, he's a kid or whatever, but you couldn't communicate with him that he was a child and that it wasn't right. And then when I tried to speak about it, because I will never forget, I tried to write my stepmom this letter. And I was like, you know, I feel like it wasn't fair. Because I'm telling you, this is not like the first time something like that has happened. And I'm speaking about it, and I'm telling you, it affected me a lot. And I wrote it, like I was there writing it, and I didn't know if I was going to give her the time. Because at the moment, I don't even remember. I think I saw this thing where people would write down their emotions or whatnot. So at the moment I'm writing it, and it felt good to like, you know, let it out, whatever. So then my sister, whatever, I guess she sees me writing it and she asks for it. And then, so like I gave it to her because like, why not? Because like, I'm just writing it, whatever. Never got it back. I guess she showed it to my stepmom or whatever. They gave it to it. I would never forget my dad. Like I should probably tell him about this because I would never forget I got beat. I got beat for writing that letter because it was disrespectful. Huh?
So now you gotta fight your stepsister. I'm sorry.
No, I was very annoyed at the time. I would never lie.
Why she do that?
I would never lie. And that did affect me too. I did not want to speak to them. I'm kidding. I feel like that really did trickle down to how I am now. Or like it inspired me for a very long time in how I handle my emotions, not speak. Like, bro, I don't care what happened. I would not go to them. Nothing. I got beat for that. That was very disrespectful. And I think you should apologize to her for explaining how I felt. I feel like that was like such strong. It was such strong gaslighting because then it was like my emotions were valid. How dare you feel like you were being mistreated? No, I kid you not. They were like, there's a difference between ribbing and like the bullying you get as a kid. But that, like, some of it was an extreme and it could be understood. Like, it was far. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that gaslighting, it hits differently. It took me a while to even start crying again in my own presence. If you understand what I'm saying. Like, to me, for myself, like, I didn't even think my emotions were valid anymore. Like Amisha, like, what are you really upset about? Because that's another thing parents really love to do. What do you have to be mad about? What do you have to be sad about? I provide all of these things for you. I did not birth my goddamn self. Did I ask you to bring me here? This earth is kind of disgusting. It's kind of gross. These people are kind of loud. I didn't ask you to bring me here. Okay? So I'm grateful for all these things you're doing. Don't get me wrong. However, comma. You know, however, semicolon. I'm hot. And I'm annoyed. And I go through things. Yes, I do. And I deserve to have them highlighted. Stop belittling them. Stop belittling them, please. And before I continue going on a rant, who else want to speak? Raquel? Who is it? Tisha? Go.
I completely agree with your parents in validating your feelings. that within itself is such dangerous behavior. But before I forget what I was trying to say before, I wanted to speak on parents erasing history and rewriting it like they Christopher Columbus. My parents, I love my mother and father. I just want to highlight that first. But both of my parents,
disclaimer.
both of my parents, they love to say, I never said that. I never said, why would I say such a horrendous thing to you? That is so unlike me. It is very much like you. It is very much a big part of your character. It's unfortunate that it is, but that is who you are. I've accepted that. But don't say that you've never said something. So I'm pulling this whole dialogue out of my ass and then explaining to you how it affected me and how it still affects me and how that trickles down into my platonic relationships, my intimate relationships, whatever form of relationship, and you're saying it never happened. That's dangerous because now I don't know how to maneuver when I'm in these other relationships with people. That's ill training, bro. I should call HR. This is ghetto. I hate that so much. And to speak again on the invalidating the feelings, that's why I be going so hard when we be talking about the past, when it regards, when we're talking about middle school and high school stuff and like how things went down and how it affected me. Cause y'all are not gonna tell me I have enough of that. My parents, I gotta get crazy now. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Go ahead, Ivanti.
I don't know. I think my biggest thing or my biggest difference between everybody else is that like, I got trauma from my father, but honestly, we got a pretty decent relationship. So not really. Most of my trauma actually stems from my aunts. So I think that's the difference of that's where the gaslighting started. My mother never gaslighted anybody. She was too damn truthful. But like everybody else, gaslighting, lying, mistreating. And I thought and Raquel's right, where it trickles over into your platonic and intimate relationships. Because let's say, for instance, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They would not come. But as soon as I got home, everybody's in there with baby talks. And I'm 17 looking at them like, or even when I was 8, I was still looking at them like, oh, baby, you okay? Don't leave me alone, for real. For real. And I think that's why I have such, when Takesha was saying this early, like a stern, very like forward. And y'all know this, I'm very stern, I'm very forward. But it stems from me not being able to speak in my family. I speak everywhere else. And like, I think mentally I'm still a child, just a tad with my family. Like I've gotten better, but you are still going to stay in a child's place per se when it comes to anything. So when I speak to my father, it's me getting out of a child's place, coming into my own. Same thing with my aunt, same thing with my cousins, my brother, like whatever it is, it's like, no, I don't want you to tell me that whatever happened didn't happen, because it did. And perception is reality. What happened happened, but how you perceived it is how you're going to take that story and run with it, and how I perceived it is how I'm going to take that story and run with it.
So in addition to all of that, we're now coming to our age now, like a little young adult phase, the part where where we're kind of like stepping forward into our new lives, where we are like this next chapter, but still in some ways the parents are still like, or parental influence is still hovering there like a little alien light or whatever. So now at this stage in your life, because Ivanti was kind of touching on that, the transition of being seen as the young adult you are and not the 5-year-old you once was. How do you want to, and I know you want to, I feel like I don't want to specify because I don't want you, like, I don't want to influence what you want to say. But how do you want to speak about the transition now you're having? I mean,
Okay, so my transition phase, I will say, it's in turn of owning my own shit, basically. Owning that I have trauma, owning everything, and taking all of that and realizing that you got to break generational curses. Black people don't like going to therapy, and they don't like talking about it. And what happens in this house stays in this house type of mentality. So the transition that it went from 5-year-old, okay, well, just keep it in. It isn't that serious. No, it is that serious, period. And I actually started going to therapy my junior year in college. And that's where the real, like, the self-realization got, like, it was like, okay, Fonzie, you realize that something ain't right. If you keep going in circles, sweetie, you keep going in circles, you landing at the same spot, something ain't right. So going to therapy is when, like, really, like, self-realization of, like, he used to say things that I was thinking. I was like, okay, I'm not bugging. I'm not bugging at all. Oh, okay, it's real. It's real. Cool. But I think it's still, in regards to how my family sees me, I think it's still a struggle for them. I think it went from Vontae's a child to Vontae's adult really fast, especially with the pandemic and me needing to know, like, me needing help with everything, to Vontae need help. Nah, I got it. I'm cool. Like, to me having my own apartment, to whatever transpired, I let it go. It is what it is. To me, growing up now and them seeing it, it's just like, wow, like, okay, she did all this with no help from us. I think that's where the disconnect is.
okay, so you like what I was picking up is like it started with you. Like you feel like the transition really worked after a while. Like it started with you like recognizing where you were in your life. Okay. One thing about me, I love me some little self growth, girl. Anyway, go ahead, Rocky. Then to Shauna.
I know for me, it's similar to Ivanti, but I haven't quite left my house. Not quite. I'm still here, still in my mama's place. So it's mainly for me. It started with giving myself the things that my mom didn't in terms of emotional. Because of how my mom was raised, it was very tough love. We have had some more, I guess, lovey-dovey, mushy moments, but I really need to tap. I'm still, and I say need because it's present, to tap into like the feminine energy and tap into the self-realization, the self-reflecting, and identifying where I fall short and how I can get the resources to make my cup full. Because a lot of the things that I was lacking from my mom, it's like you have your hands out, cup empty. You're not gonna get that. For me personally, I'm not gonna get that from my mother. I can kind of get it from my pops, but he's not here in New York. So how can I fill myself up and get the tools so I can propel forward? I know for me, it's definitely a struggle transitioning. I do have a little bit more responsibility that I take on for myself, just little things. But I know while I'm still in my mother's place, it's a fight between not being small. And when I say being small, I mean in terms of energy and how I represent myself as Raquel. Something that stuck with me the other day that my mom said, and she said it as a joke, but it's so much weight to it. I'm in the fridge. She's coming up like, play with me. I'm like, girl, we don't really have that. You do that once in a blue moon, and I'm not really feeling playing with you. She's trying to hit me. I'm like, don't touch me. Can you get out of my space? You don't have no space in here. Now, as soon as I get my space, I'm leaving. As soon as I get my space, I'm going to be moving real different, because even I understand I'm in your home, but you making me feel as though in the small things, I have to be small. Everything, when you come, I squinch myself up like this. I'm clenching because I feel like my presence can't be bigger than yours because this is your home. And that again trickles into my professional life and my academic life. When I have conversations like this, I literally, my palms sweat and I get nervous and I'm stuttering because I constantly had to make myself small around my mother. I'm in class. I'm like, what am I gonna say? I have to write down because I'm shaking. I don't know if are people gonna understand me, because my mother doesn't understand me and she's not listening to what I'm saying, and taking my words as if I'm trying to weaponize them against her, opposed to receiving them from me. So it is a huge transition. And going from being super independent and doing everything that I wanted while I was in school and constantly having to be at home, that even that transition in itself and how crippling it can be, I find myself having to I'm gonna use this to make it a little light. I feel like I have to stay strapped up at all times because I never know when she's gonna get crazy. I never know when I'm gonna have to, a conversation will feel like a war. And I actually do have to, I want to be mindful because I don't want to weaponize my words. But then my mom makes me feel like I have to. So that's where I'm at.
Pick up, I pick up, I pick up, pick up. We shall be transitioning peacefully soon. Amen. Amen. Tashana.
Well, um, hmm, I feel like for me, it's a little tricky in the sense that, how do I explain it? Like going to CUNY, like a CUNY school, I was still home. So it was like, it's not like I got like the true sense of my thoughts. It wasn't like I got the true like, oh, freedom, yes, like like, oh, like being by myself, da da da. But at the same time, like in my house, like my parents there, sometimes it feel like, okay, it's their house, their rules, but at the same time they were very good with like, you know, dang, like they didn't make it feel like, oh my god, give me 1 second, ready? Oh my, I'm gonna punch these people. You see, this fits in. Stuff like this happening. This. But like I was saying, even though I never went away to college and like, I didn't really have that experience of like, oh, being on my own. Like I ain't got no parents like looking over my back, watching me. At the same time, like my parents weren't really, that imposing on me as like like even in middle school, high school. Like I remember like one of my friends would say, "Oh, Tashana, how come your mom not calling you? Like we out this late." And I was like, "Yeah, like they good with that. Like they used to like not call on me, not check up on me. Not that because they don't care about me, but like they just knew, okay, Tashana, like she good out there, whatever. Like we already told her don't do anything stupid." I'm like, I got it. Like, so they weren't very imposing. So I feel like I had the space to, you know, like it was like freedom, but not freedom necessarily, so it didn't really feel like stifling or nothing. So I'm thankful for that. What else was I say? Also, like how I had to get the little freedom that I guess it's because like of the environment that my family like gave us, because they're not really like, okay, this is my house, like you gotta do, like sometimes they'll say that, but like I've heard them say that like 3 times in my entire life, like and they don't necessarily make me feel that way all the time, like even now, like we'll we'll be like planning, like we're here planning to revamp the room, and I don't feel like it's necessary like I'm like revamping in their space, like I have to do this, da da da, which I'm thankful for, because who knows when, especially in this pandemic, when we gonna get to move out and stuff like that, like, or for me to explore. So it's nice that I can like explore in this avenue, even though the space is kind of small and things like that. But I guess just also reflecting on my experiences, like you said, like a lot of self growth and things. So it still is a transition. I'm not gonna say like I got it figured out and stuff like that. Like I don't. It's still a transition. I guess it's coming with knowing myself. Like Ivanti said, like, you know, having to reflect on her experiences. I think therapy is good. I'm glad that you're going. Okay. I also think like not necessarily also going to therapy, but like, you know, just like hmm, finding things that you like to do, like, you know, finding yourself outside of this space too, because I know, like, you know, growing up in my family, like, you know, I'm very tied to them, da da da. Like, I've been around them. Like, my house is always full. Not that I mind that because I always say I have to go to a place where it's loud, it's buzzing. I don't need time to think. But also, Tashana, you do. You do. Like you have to, you don't need like noise all the time. You do. And stuff like that. So it's like finding time to spend with myself, coming to know myself, you know, finding out what I like to do, knowing me as a person too, is how, like, you know, I could start that process. So yeah.
With the transition phase of moving from like teenager to young adult to more adultish, more adultish. From personal perspective, I would say, I mean, for me, I feel like it went two ways. Because one, I feel like, okay, so just to be general, I feel like what the problem with me would be like if to say like a problem is I'm a child when they want and an adult when they want. And I think that's a very big issue. I'm a child when you want to boss me around and tell me how to live my life, but I'm an adult when you want me to handle certain things for you or to pay for this or for me to do that. So I feel like that's very confusing. And I did have an issue with my like. There was a time like when I tell you I was ready to move out with nothing. I don't care. I would have struggled in what little house I had. I was ready to be out. Now it's better. Now I could like. Now I'm more of a. I want my own space because I want my own space, not because I feel like I need to escape from them. That's where I am now. But like a year and a year and a half ago, I needed to get out. Like it was the home wasn't homing for me. Like I honestly refer to this place as my house and not my home. Not because of what anything they're doing, but just the implications. And even with my sister, it's like you'd want my advice in certain things. And then when I try to like help you in a certain ways, like I was thinking I was an adult. No, I was not. You came to me 2 seconds ago and asked about this. Now you did not like my advice and you feel like I'm taking over your parenting job, which I am not. You asked me a question and I'm responding. So after a while, I literally cut myself out completely. I'm like that right now, even too. Like I'm like, if it doesn't associate with me, don't make me involved. Don't make me involved. Don't ask me no questions. I don't want to. I just don't want to go over it. So even with the transition phase, that's what my issue would be. Like the choosing when you want me to be an adult and stuff. And I get it. You know, I was just a child, and sometimes it's hard seeing some like seeing someone from so young. All of a sudden, like it's hard to treat them that way. But then I feel like they use that as an excuse and then they don't try to treat you that way. It's like you have to adapt and stop going back to that same excuse. Okay, in the beginning, like, yeah, I got it, whatever. But now to continue using that as your fallback, I'm already understanding of it. So stop using it as your excuse every single time. Like there's always growth. There's always growth. And then for me myself with the transition phase too, because I did go off to college when I off to like I did have my own space where I was adulting. But on the flip side, I was forced to kind of adult quicker than my peers because then I had to come back home. I was no longer in school. I had to go to work. Like it was because I would never forget like my sorority sisters because like I left school obviously and I can't remember what I had to go back for. And something they were saying, because this is when people are now getting internships and stuff. This is junior year. And then she's like, yo, this adulting stuff is hard. I'm like, Dad. And then she looked at me, she's like, but you have to adult a little bit earlier than the rest of us. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this since sophomore year. And it was hard. Like, I'm not even going to brush it over. Like, it was, especially when you had the idea of how you wanted your life. So then to go there already with all those ideals and then to be forced to come back home, bro, I would never forget our guidance counselor, Miss Arwa, throw her name out there, when she was like, you think you're going to want to move back home after college? I never understood it. I was like, yeah, I feel like it was whatever. When I came back, I completely understood. Completely understood. I could clean my room when I needed it to be clean. I knew the way I wanted, like my clean, the way I wanted things to be put. I knew all of that. Coming here, I had to put things back how they needed it to be put. I had to clean it to their clean. It's just the instances were so different. So the transition, I like, even when Yvonne saying like actualization. What is wrong with my words tonight? Self actualization, and also them on their part interacting with you. Like it's a mesh in both ways. Self actualization in noticing that, yeah, you're sweetie, you're adulting now. Yeah, it sucks. It's giving ghetto, but it is where you are in your life, and noticing that for yourself, dealing with all the because you don't want to be what they what they were. So dealing with the trauma you had as a child starting now, realizing that now will help you moving forward, and also with interacting with them now into that adult phase where they're not treating you like a child because you're always going to be their baby, obviously, but now they're treating you not as an equal but on equal footing, if that makes sense. But that's when they have to meet you halfway in recognizing, yeah, this is where they're coming from. They're reaching that adult phase, not me having a discussion with you. It's like, oh, you think you're grown now? Yes, I do, boo. I'm paying bills. So yes, I do think I'm grown now. Not grown and overpowering you, but grown where I feel like we can have more adult discussions and more speaking and more communication. It's not giving, and the transition is tough. It's hard. And I feel like it's harder living in their home. Living in their home. And I guess I'm a little lucky because I do contribute in some ways. I don't contribute a lot, but because I contributed so much, I do be feeling a little like, all right, you can't really tell me much because I be paying rent. That's legit my mood. Like, no. I'm not going to disrespect you, but you're not going to be disrespecting me. It's not going to be a thing. It's not giving disrespect here. It's not going to be okay. So I did want to just two topics, kind of, two topics on parental styles. So, what was it? Strict parenting versus non-strict parenting. What are your thoughts on that topic? Keep it to at least 5 minutes, people. At least. Ivan.
Strict parenting versus non-strict parenting, right? Honestly, I feel like those are subjective because what one person sees as strict, another person be like, girl, you didn't go to nothing. But it is what it is. Like Caribbean cultures are different than Asian cultures, that's different than white cultures, and what some people see as, oh, I'm some people see as strict, other people don't. I personally, when it comes to strict versus non-strict, I'm not a parent at, oh my gosh. Oh my God. I'm not a parent at all, but what I will say is when it comes to Evan and Nikita, because I've been raising them since I was 16 years old, they will okay. They will say that I'm the nice strict one, if that makes any sense. Like you gotta say, like, it's the tone of it. Like I'm their sister, but at the same point, don't play with me. So, I feel like it has its benefits and its downfalls.
Um, I was gonna say, like, for me, I want to be a parent and a friend. I don't care what my grandparents have been saying since I've been growing up, talking about you cannot be friends with your kid. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because growing up and raising Justin made me realize that, like, you don't have to beat a child. Like, you don't have to do any of that stuff because even now with my relationship with Justin, he will come to me and like talk to me about things as much as I am strict on him that he will not say to our parents. And I don't even think it has anything to do with the fact that I'm his sister because I still think he looks at me kind of like his mom. Cuz the thing is every time if he would do something, I would not just be like I'm going to just punish him instantly. It would be like, "Oh, why did you do that?"
How did doing that make you feel? Do you understand that I'm upset? Why is it that I'm upset? Do you understand that you have to be punished? Like, it was always like that. And even if he's like playing the game too much, I'm not going to sit here and yell at you and tell you, oh, you're dumb, you're stupid, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't cry. No. Why are you crying? You do not need to cry about every single thing. You do have to understand that this is how things are going to work. And if I'm really upset about something that he does, yes, I might yell, but I definitely go and apologize to him for that. And I definitely want to practice that with my kids. I want to be able to say sorry when I know that I'm wrong. Like, I feel like that's something that parents do need to implement. Like, if you know you're wrong, you should teach your child how to apologize by also apologizing for being wrong towards them, because if you don't, then it adds to the trauma.
I feel like it has to be a good balance. Like you can't be like just like, oh, do whatever, like I don't care. Like you have to be involved in your child's life, but at the same time, I feel like a little strictness is like we don't want like a dictator. We not asking for no Hitler, no Stalin, like none of that. Like I think a democracy. Yes. Yes. Like I want my child to be able to come to me and not even come to me because do I like if they feel comfortable, if they have something they want to speak to me and they feel comfortable sharing it, I want them to be able to, say that to me. Cause, I don't know. I don't want them to feel like they have to go to other people and like find comfort. Cause I just I also, because even with the whole thing with parenting styles, I also just learned that you just have to also be someone who's open to listening to your kids and be in tune with them too. Because even with the whole parenting style thing, like one thing I've been learning in my psychology classes too is like when your parenting style doesn't match with your child, that is something that is hard. And you as a parent, you're not going to expect the child to adjust. You as the parent has to adjust.
But strict versus non-strict, it gotta be in the middle, bro. It has to be in the middle. It can't be one over the other. It can't be one extreme, because if you just let your kids do whatever they want, they won't have structure. Everyone needs structure, but at the same time, I don't need somebody, not me. I definitely wish when I was growing up that my mom and I could have conversations about different things, and also that she was just more understanding and like why I wanted to do certain things and why I wanted to hang out with my friends and that kind of thing, because they're mad loud. They were so strict with me, and it made me be fast. Then my fast ass was thinking about all these different things I had no business being involved in, and therefore
strict versus non-strict. Um, in all honesty, I don't even like. I phrased the question like that on purpose. I didn't want it to be a balance. I want to be a parent. I don't think there's such thing as a strict parent. You're a dictator. I don't think as a non-strict parent. You're you're my best friend. Not and actually not even that you're my best friend. You're my peer. I'm raising you. I'm raising you. I want to be a parent. Someone who gives my child structure, especially, and then something Tashana said, which is important, understanding your child. Because there's some children who have self-structure. So maybe you would not need to give them that sterner, more like discipline and stuff like that. But then the kids who, bro, they need that. They need that with a passion. You could be a stern person and give them understanding and discipline and still be a loving and show. And then being loving doesn't mean always affection, because not everyone's love language is different. That goes with relationship and parental styles as well. I could be a loving, caring, stern parent and still look out for your best interest in all types of ways. So I feel like the parenting style, I mean, in essence is what everyone's saying is a balance, but I feel like the essence of being a true parent is knowing when to have the heavy hand and knowing when to have the light hand, right? Corporal punishment. We're gonna use the cute term. What are your views on corporal punishment? There's one. Shoshana, go ahead, girl. You can
Okay, so I want to start with like one thing that Takeshi said, which I really like. Good job, Takeshi. Is the whole like sitting Justin down and like finding out like why you did what you did. Understand? I feel like a lot of times with the beatings, first of all, there's one beatings are beatings, but some of these people are beating their child like slaves, and I'm not here for it. Like, why is it like my thing is like I get children annoy me, yes. Like, I'm human. Like, there's times I'm like tired and they annoy me. But I could never see being that angry with a child that I am here beating them that bad. And the thing with beatings is that like a lot of times when you're beating them, the connection in their brain is just like, oh, you know what, this is bad. Like, oh, this is why what I did was wrong. They're just like, you know what, I can never do this in front of them again. That's it.
Agree. Spankings, like I get the point of spanking, Bible, spare the rod, spoil the child. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I get it, but at the same time, I'm just like, it doesn't make me feel happy to hit a child. Like, after I hit, I don't feel good about it. Like,
but I think depending on the circumstance and depending on the kid and depending on the parent, that's when you should spank. I think when I'm raising my own kids, I hope I don't have to, but I'm not opposed to grabbing you up and getting to you talking like this and getting in your face and getting crazy, grabbing you up a little bit, but not to the point where it's hitting. It's like, oh, I'm exercising. I'd rather just go to the gym. I'd rather make you do yoga. I'd rather like do the speech. I'd rather have the open dialogue, and then you're upset because I'm giving you a speech instead of doing the physical.
I said before, I'm tearing that ass up. I was lying. Okay. Oh, girl, please. I'll be BSing. But the only reason is because I don't believe in not hitting a kid, but my mother, I'm a firm believer in not doing what was not done to me. I wasn't beaten. Like, my mother said beatings for special occasions. And if I got my ass whooped, I honestly deserved it. I did that. I did it. It was me. That's the type of relationship I want with my kids. Like, I want you to come to me for everything, but don't get it fucked up. That's literally
I like that.
Yeah, like literally the way that I was with my mother.
Corporate punishment, my views. I do not be let me just say it like this. I loved everything everybody was saying. I do not believe in abuse. I feel like sometimes that shit is abusive. It is to the extent, like sometimes the crimes do not be. He broke the pen some point. You told him don't break the point. You slap him across the face. What? Huh? You know what it is too? Okay, so me personally, I don't believe it. Look, spit or rod spoil a child. I get that. I definitely do. If it comes to the moment where I feel like I need to clap, I'm gonna clap you. You're gonna get beat. You're gonna get beat. But I feel like that has to be an extreme. That thing gotta be extreme circumstance. You cursed out your grandmother like you ain't got no sense. Like that thing would have to be extreme. That is not my first, second, third, or fourth resort. That is my 100th resort. Like, what am I beating you unnecessarily for? And you know where I think that thing came from? I say this all the time. Beating kids is because you don't respect kids. Because y'all be beating, because you don't think they deserve dialogue. You don't think they deserve speech. Because half the things y'all beating these kids for, y'all could have spoke to them about. You could have spoke to them about it. I feel like beating is this quick getaway. So I don't have to speak. You did something wrong. I'm pop, 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 and then you walk away. Don't come to me after, because I'm telling you, this was me to a T. You beat me. I'm mad at you that whole day. That whole day. Do not come after and speak to me like, the reason why I had to beat. I don't care. Don't tell me nothing now. You could have spoke to me before. And don't speak to me while you're beating me. I don't like beating you. I beat you because you could have spoke to me before. But literally, being kids come from being disrespectful and not thinking they're worth speech, worth talking to, and worth respect. I dislike thinking children do not deserve respect because of their age. Respect is a two-way street. You respect your kids, they respect you. That works so well. Bow. Fear does not equal respect. Correct. Me being afraid of you doesn't mean I respect you. That is so. Tashana, you hit the nail on the head. Like perfection. Perfection. If you have any final thoughts, final things you would like to say, I do think it's a lot of all way of life and raising kids and realizing that time has changed and that there are new ways to do things and like with the emotional aspect, emotional growth, recognizing trauma, recognizing where we are in a society and moving like past it, especially like within the Black community. I just this pride of being like I don't know, this pride of that and not like saying, oh, you see how that child talking back to their parent white thing. Don't get me wrong. Some of those things are a little excessive, a little too much. But you all the way on the flip side, honey boo boo, that's not any better. That's not any better. There's no reason for me to be traumatized outside in the world and then traumatized at home as well. There's no reason. No. So thank you for coming to the discussion. It was wonderful having you all. We love it. We love it. Our next discussion will be, well, in light of Women's Month, this is really one of my favorite months. Y'all don't even know. Black women in society. That's really the general idea. And bro, when I say we're touching topics, get ready. How men treat us, how jobs treat us, how life treats us. We are touching everything. So women, get ready because we're about to speak.
You see this book? It's going to be full by the time. It's going to be full. I'm coming with my notes. I'm coming.
We're going to have a great discussion. I'm excited about that. We need more stuff. We need more stuff for ourselves. We need more stuff in society. All right, people. So I will see y'all next time, most likely in 2 weeks, because that's how I try to do it. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your night. Deuces.